Welcome to Over the Line. I am your host, Dan Bland. This is episode 4. With me today is Mason and Tawnya Fleetwood. Thank you both for being here. I'm really excited to have you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having us.
Yes.
Yeah. We're still kind of new at this, and I think we're getting better. I've got a long list of people, but you guys were both very high on the list, and I've been looking forward to this, and I think a lot of people will look forward to hearing your story and all about you. I think everybody knows in Brownstown, of course, you're the owners of Blondies, but there's a lot of people that don't know you beyond that. They know Blondies. And so I'm excited to kind of peel that onion back a little bit and get to know both of you a little better and hear the story about the two of you personally. So I like to start these podcasts with just that. I'd love to hear your story about, where you're from originally. Are you both from Brownstown? Where did you start from? Tell me how long you've been together. How'd you meet? The whole nine. So let's just start with that. Tell me about the story of Mason and Tawnya Fleetwood.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. Well, I'm originally from Pekin, Indiana. I graduated in Eastern High School in 1991. I met Mason I believe I was 21 when we met.
You were?
At a friend's house, a guy that you could meet with. He was a great friend of mine. And he came in that night. I remember he came into the kitchen. I think you were already at his house.
I was there sitting in a chair.
You were at the table in the kitchen, and I came in and said something about...
You said, you going to get up and give a girl a seat? And I said,
Correct.
Are you
a gentleman? Yeah.
I said, are you going to continue to wear your grandma's doily as a shirt? Because she had one of those white little holy shirts on, like your grandma used to put on their coffee table. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think she kind of murmured a few words, and I got
did.
up and went to the other room.
You did.
That's really not the first time we met, but you go ahead.
Well, the first time we met was at a basketball game. I was a sophomore in high school. My friend and I had gone to the concession stand. This was a basketball game at Eastern. Brownstown was playing Eastern, and we had walked up to the concession. A cute boy was in front of us, and you had on Bugle Boys. I didn't know it was you, though.
Yeah.
And I said, she dared me to ask you, are those Bugle Boys you're wearing?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Are those Bugle Boys you're wearing?
Excuse me, are those Bugle Boys you're wearing?
It's funny, Dan, this come about probably a year after we'd been together.
Yeah.
Probably a year. And we were talking, and a good friend of mine in high school, Greg Leitzman, played basketball, and we went, I used to like to go watch all the games. And we just drove to Pekin, me and Kurt McCormick, and we were walking around the top, and she was behind us. And just like after we'd been together like a year, I said, man, I remember one time I went to Pekin to a basketball game, and she said, well, I remember one time I went to Brownstown to a baseball game, and she said, and I'm sure it was you, there was a boy who got walked, and he pranced down to first base. I said, that could have been me. I said, well, I went to Pekin one time to a basketball game, and a good-looking blonde come up behind me and said, excuse me, are those, and she finished the sentence.
Yeah.
Are those Bugle Boys you're wearing? And it was her.
Wow.
It was.
Only people our age would even get that Bugle Boy jeans.
Oh, absolutely.
I see some people listen to this, like my son, like, what are they talking about? Yeah.
What are Bugle Boys?
Right.
Well, I seen a thing on Instagram a couple nights ago, and it was 10 sets of clothing that you can't get no more, and Bugle Boy was one of them.
Hell, maybe they'll make a comeback. A lot of this stuff makes a comeback, circles back around.
I promise you, Bugle Boys weren't $150 a pair for jeans like they are now.
Right.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's actually the first time we met.
We didn't know you, but yes, it was. And then later that night at our mutual friend's house, we were playing pool, and I actually asked you out. And the reason I did is because my friend that I had came to the party with, I saw her talking to you and flirting, and I was a little upset with her over something with an ex-boyfriend. So
she wasn't bad looking either. I was in a no-lose situation.
She was a beautiful girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I asked you out.
So you had competition from the start.
I didn't.
Who never thought?
There was no competition.
No.
Yeah. You probably couldn't convince anybody in Brownstown that she had to fight over me. That's for sure.
Right.
But anyway, so I asked you out, and we've been together every day since, I think, except a couple.
You want me to tell them, or are you going to tell them?
About what?
How long was we together before you moved in?
2 weeks.
At most.
Yeah.
Yep.
2 weeks.
Her mom was moving, and Tawnya said, I don't want to move. And I said, move in with me. She said, nah, I'll just move in with Dad. First night, I moved her into her dad's. At about 9 o'clock, she calls me and says, I hate it. I don't like it here. So
Can
I
you
went
come
and got
get
her.
me and my sister?
Yeah, never left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how long after that until you were married?
Less than a year.
Less than a year.
Found out I was pregnant with
Yeah,
Colton in
less than a year.
January.
It was in July we met, and we got married on March 4th, and we just had our 30th wedding anniversary.
Yep.
Oh,
We
great.
sure did.
Congratulations.
Just
Thank
had it,
you.
March the 4th.
Thank
Yep.
you. Yeah.
Yep. I tell everybody I've been married 10 good years. I've been married 30, but only 10 of them's been good, and I've never had any back-to-back.
That's what I was going to say. Make sure
That's
you
my
tell them
go-to.
that.
That's my go-to. But it's been wonderful, seriously.
Been
Yep. And then raising boys.
You know what
Yeah.
that's like.
I do.
boy mom,
I do.
yeah.
My wife's a boy mom. We've talked about this on the last couple of episodes, but boy moms are saints. You know.
We are. But I love it.
Yeah.
And I love still being a mom, and he gets mad
There's
about
still
that.
boy moms at the age of 30.
Yeah. Well, my wife will kill me for talking about this on the podcast, but she's the dance coach up here.
I know.
And so she's dealing with a dozen teenage girls.
Yes.
Well, she's not wired that way. She's lived her life raising boys, and so there's in our
Absolutely.
house there's very little drama, and things get taken care of pretty
Exactly.
quick, and so it's been a different deal for her to deal with that, and she tells me all the time too. She's like, I don't know how you done with girls, and she's probably right.
Yeah.
She's probably right.
Yeah, and being now that we're grandparents and we have a baby girl, her name's
Granddaughter.
Mabel Louise, yes, and she's getting ready to turn 6 months old, and it's just weird. It's just strange. Changing their diaper is strange. After being boy mom, yeah,
And so that's probably just completely changed your life, having a grandbaby.
it has.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I do.
Are you going to talk about though where you came from?
we already jumped to grandbaby. Now we need to go
I
back
know,
to where
I know.
Anybody that's probably listening to this knows where I came from.
That's true.
Yeah, I was born right here in Brownstown, right out past the racetrack, where my dad still has a race car business. Was born in that house. My dad still has it. Graduated in 1990 from Brownstown. Didn't graduate with any honors. I just graduated. Went to work, and I worked as a meat manager for JC for many years, and that's how I met my wife. I mean, a buddy of mine worked with me. If you talk to him, he'd say I worked for him, but he worked with me. And he told me that night, he said, hey, I've got we're having a party, my mom and dad's gone. He said, you ought to come over. I said, all right, I'm there. That's, of course, she's told how we met, but
Well, there's a lot of people that can say that they are lifelong Brownstown people, but very few people can say I was literally born in Brownstown. Yeah.
Exactly.
Justin was on the other day. He was talking about how he was done in Bedford. Because in western part of the county, or born at Schneck maybe. But I got to think that there's probably very few people that said literally born
Right
and
here.
raised in Brownstown.
yeah, we live right across the county line now in Washington County. We're going to get back to Jackson County one day. Mm-hmm. If somebody asks me where I live, I tell them Brownstown.
Yeah,
That's where I always knew if I wanted to have a business would be in Brownstown. But her family was all from Pekin, and at one time we ran a racetrack at Salem at the fairgrounds, and they really wanted us to live in Washington County at the time, and we had an opportunity to buy a house that was literally only a mile from the house we had, so just right across the line. But yeah, we will definitely be back in Jackson County one day.
One day,
I don't know
hopefully
when,
sooner
but
than later.
it's going to happen. So,
And grandkids may change some of that plan too.
This is true. They're already talking about buying here in Brownstown, and I babysit her 3 days a week. So I'm thinking, oh my, how's that going to work?
yeah.
So it'd be it'd be a kind of a long drive for him to bring her back out to the house.
Well, but what I thought, it's no different. They live past us. They drop her off,
Yeah.
coming to work. Well, it's still going to be the
Absolutely.
same amount of miles. They're just going to have to bring her out to us and then come back. So, but yes, grandbaby changed our life.
I've talked to a lot of people that it does, and you think about that, raising your own kids, and then all of a sudden you got grandkids, and the friends of mine that have become grandparents lately, because I'm getting close to that age.
Exactly.
And I've got some good friends I went to school with that have just become grandparents, and the thing is, they said it's awesome, man. They come over, you do all the spoiling, and then you just send them right back home.
Yeah, and
Kinda
you
true.
think that's crazy when people say, I went along with it. Oh, yeah, but you think, but it is. I mean, you just I don't know. It's different. My grandbaby, I feel like I'm just there to make sure we have a good time.
Yeah.
She's not really old, but she smiles enough, so I think I'm doing a good job. But my boys,
is
I
a
needed to
doll.
make sure that they were going to be able to raise me some good grandbabies.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
the way I look at
you,
it.
you go from the disciplinarian phase of trying to make sure you're raising good, respectable children
Yes.
to now that's not my job. I got a different role in this now. So
Yeah, it's
But as a mom, you still want to be a mom to them too. I don't
Yeah.
think that'll ever go away.
no,
Yeah.
not with you. It's not.
Well, I believe he said his wife was the same. So.
Well,
you guys I was stopping to think about this today. I was going through all the things that I wanted to talk about on this podcast with the two of you. And I got to thinking about all the things that I know the two of you have done in the past, and I don't feel like I even know half of them. Before we turned the recorder on, we talked about some of the things I didn't even know. I know you've been involved. I mean, heck, you grew up by the racetrack, so racing is in your blood, literally.
I love it.
Yeah,
It is
I
in
love
all
it.
of their bloods.
Yeah.
but not just outside of racing. I mean, I don't even know how we start or where we finish with this, but I want to talk about all the things that you've done in your lives to get to this point, from the racing to the fishing to the businesses. So,
What a wicked we've wove.
I think it's been good for us, though.
Yeah. Do you remember the commercial years ago where the guy, he's got a van and on the side of it's got a sticker that says so-and-so construction, and then he puts another magnet over the top and says, "Today we do windows."
That's
That
kind
was
of
her.
our.
That was
yeah.
her the first 10 years we were married.
Yeah,
So,
I said, today we do signs.
yeah. So I'll take this from the
Yeah,
beginning.
go ahead.
yeah.
So we met, and I worked for JC. Worked there many years. Racing. I raced our first 2 years we were married.
Yep.
And
You did.
just didn't have enough financially to do it and win, didn't. So one of the last nights I raced, I said, hey, I started on the front row, funny thing, right beside Merle. And I told her, I said, in order for me to do good, I'm going to have a new tire. She said, how much is it? And I said, $78. She said, we've got $80 for the rest of the week, so I hope you win some money back. And I
Wow.
ended up running
That was our
second.
grocery money.
Yeah.
Second that night to Merle.
I got to know, what'd that pay?
Back then,
Did
it
you
was
get your
probably
$80?
Yeah, no, I think I got like 120.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was
Yeah.
a win.
I took it straight. I kept it at my dad's, and I took it straight out there and told my dad, I said, sell it for me. Sell it. My dad said, what do you want for it? And I said, I don't know, $2,500, because it was just for the car, because the motor was my dad's. And my dad said, I'll buy it off of you. So he bought it off of me, and then I was out of the racing as far as driving.
But you never lost the passion for it.
Oh, no, I
because-
love races,
Yeah.
man. The live
loves
stream
it.
stuff has ruined me. I mean, last night I was watching High Limits. I mean, I love, if they race them, I'll watch them. I like
And
it.
the boys call you a lot too, and when you're watching those races.
Oh
and
yeah,
they'll-
Chandler will call me and say, "Did you see that?" And be
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, he's an idiot." So one day I came home from work and she was at her parents' house, her dad's house, and I said, "Hey, I think we'll maybe rent that racetrack over at Salem. Maybe try to race go-karts, promote it." She said, "Oh, no." I said, "Yeah." I was like, so I met with him. Long story short, in 1999, we leased Thunder Valley Raceway
Yes, we did.
and raced for about 3 months go-karts, and I went on a Canada fishing trip. And when I called home, she said, hey, we no longer race go-karts. And I said, what? She said, they got into it, and I was over it, and I told them, we're done with go-karts. She said, you'll have to figure out something else you want to do, but I'm not putting up go-karts anymore.
So that
Putting
was
up with the parents was terrible.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that was the start of the racing promotion.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, and then we got pretty deep into it. We raced over there for 6 or 7 years, and then Twin Cities Raceway Park become available. And the tough part of that was I wasn't able to keep a full-time job, keep insurance, keep all that. I mean, if I was going to do it, that was the full-time job.
Yeah.
So, boy, that is a strain. When you got 2 young kids and you don't have a big bunch of money to fall back on, I mean, it was the most nervous I have ever been. And I know it was treacherous on her. But
It
we did
wasn't
it.
in the beginning, but
We did it.
we did it.
And-
we did.
First race out, we made $8,000.
Yeah.
I said, shit, I ain't made that ever, you know. And then, but they weren't all like that. That's for sure. That's the first weekend we raced at Vernon. We had a Friday night and Saturday night race, and my wife is particular, so we didn't leave the racetrack till 3 in the morning, and I was back over there at 7:30 6:30, 8 o'clock the next morning working on it, and she was heading to Sam's. It was the first weekend. It was a great weekend.
It was.
And I remember talking about my boys. I had promised Colton I'd take him turkey hunting youth season on Sunday morning. So we raced Friday night, Saturday night, and in the middle of watering the racetrack, he took his turkey gun back at Vernon. I don't know if you've ever been to Vernon, but in the back, Muscatatuck River runs down through there. And we took some practice shots with his gun and stuff. Saturday night, the races got over late, but we got home, and we got up next morning, and I said, all right, bub, you got your gun? Yeah. I said, what's wrong, son? Dad, I left my shells on Mom's desk.
Oh, no.
Like, okay. So my cousin Tony was taking us, so we called him up. I said, hey, you got any shells? And Tony said, oh. So he used 7.5 shot and killed turkey that morning. 7.5 shot. It was about 15 yards from us. But
That's all you needed.
I guess. But what you do, stay home. I mean, we just had, bird shot. I mean, it was just for much smaller birds.
Yeah.
And he was so excited.
That was the
to
first
go.
weekend. And then we did that for 6 years.
The last 3 were kind of treacherous, but
Last 3 we still made money, but it was just,
it wasn't enough.
we went through gas going from $1.60 a gallon to $4 a gallon, and then now here comes the dad that's going to race, but Mom and the kids aren't coming.
It's the '08 crisis and housing crisis, and
She told me, she said it was early October, and she said, let's quit for the year. And I said, no, we got 3 more races, let's run them. We lost so much money on 2 of those races that it just about depleted us for the winter.
yeah.
Yeah, we told Chandler and Colton we couldn't take them to Dairy Queen every
No,
morning.
they-
Chandler swore to God we were broke. Chandler was like, they're so broke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
says he had another friend, and he said his dad told him that too, and I just know we're broke, and he just worried about that.
Yeah.
And he was just, how old was he?
He was young. But several things he just didn't know. For us, opening night, for us to have we always opened with a big race. So we had to have change at 3 gates, at 2 concessions. I mean, you had to have $15,000
Just to start.
just to start.
For
I mean, it was
food
your
and-
money. You were getting it back. But Chandler just didn't understand. He just thought we were flat broke. But I was like, but we just can't spend that money. We got to have it. You just don't go over and see Mark Norman over here and go, hey, will you give me $10,000? I'll get back to you on Monday.
Yeah.
So we did that.
Yeah.
And then we at the end of that, we had Thunder Valley. We had Twin Cities. We had Big Daddies. And we had Blondies. And none of them were getting run properly.
No, they weren't.
None of them, because we were just stretched too thin. We were hiring people to do stuff, and some of them wasn't doing it the way she would do it. She would hire them to clean bathrooms and go back over and have to re-clean bathrooms. Stock pop wouldn't turn the labels out. That's just the way she is. So she'd virtually restock the pop. I mean, and the pizza shop was relatively just getting open. So finally, we knew we were done at Vernon. I was still going to do pretty much
we
Thunder
were.
Valley maybe by myself for a year or 2, and then had to just didn't agree with the commissioners on dirt hauling. And the worst thing was they told me I couldn't go without running that racetrack. And I don't know how old Colton was, but he knew he was going to be an attorney at the time, so he wanted to go with me. So he went with me. So he was coaching me at a very young age of what I needed to do.
I think it was
And I
like,
told him, I said, bub, we ain't doing nothing. We're done. I promise you. And they've called me a few times, asked me to come back
They
over
did.
there and or do some stuff for them, and I was just done. Moved on.
yeah, and it was actually a good time to stop.
Yeah.
It was. Thunder Valley was great. We never made lots of money there, but it was just nice. Twin Cities was.
And we
were
started
good to
doing
be done.
signs. We did signs.
Yeah.
The whole
from-
time we
Yeah, we did
ran the
signs from
racetracks. Well, but I was pregnant.
94 or 95? 95.
95 because I was pregnant with Colton when you bought the first
And we
equipment.
quit doing signs completely in 2007, I think. I just had to go,
Yeah.
we're done.
Kept
'cause
the stuff because
You'd work at Blondie's and then you'd come home and be like, yeah, I got to do something real quick for so-and-so. But finally, I just got the point where I said no. And
but the sign business was good for us. For the
And then when
first
we-
10 years, it was really,
Great.
really good.
great. It was really good.
Yeah.
And it was nice because we did signs before we did racetracks. So I worked a full-time job and I could do the artwork at night, and she could cut the stickers during the day with Colton, who was a baby and pregnant with Chandler. So it did
Yeah.
work out great. And it was very lucrative for us. I mean, it was back when you didn't get on the internet and order something. Like if Dan needed a Foresight sticker, if you don't go out there and have celery make it, you can get on the internet and have it by Monday.
Right.
You couldn't do that then.
That's true.
We just, and then when you have 2 racetracks and you're spending $400 a week on trophies, I say, we need to make our own trophies.
I know.
So we had trophy
I encouraged
business.
him to do that, so I did that. I did trophies too.
We wanted to do it for ourselves, and then we had other racetracks. Hey, we build our trophies, and then we're
And then
doing
we did
them
the
for Tim
ballpark.
Keithley out here, and then we're doing the ballpark, and then we're.
Yeah.
So it was great. I mean, the trophy business was good,
It
but
was.
you just get to a point when your kids get a little older. You got travel baseball, and Colton started shooting muzzleloaders, and then you just got to figure out what's more important, working or kids, you know. And sometimes working was, and sometimes kids was. It was a heck of a juggle.
It was. But Big Daddy's, we opened it in 2010, I believe.
Has it been that long?
It has. It has.
It was at least 2010. It may have been 09.
No, I broke my leg in 09. That was in October.
so
So we
10,
opened
yeah.
it in, I believe, January is when we opened it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about that today. Me and the guys at work, we were talking about the Big Daddy's restaurant. And I guess in my
great
mind.
food.
Yeah.
It
and
was.
I think everybody in Brownstown was excited as hell
Oh,
when it opened up, you know?
yes, yes.
And, but it doesn't seem like that was 14 years ago.
No, but I know it is because,
Well, Blondie's has been open 13 years. February 25th was
Yeah.
13 years for Blondie's.
yes, so I knew we had opened that a year before Blondie's. And a couple years after we opened Big Daddy's, his mom got sick, and so we had to shut it down. I think it was in June. Was it in June? I think
We shut it down a little bit to open Big Daddy's, and then Mom was sick.
I mean Blondie's.
Or I'm sorry, but yeah, and Mom was sick.
Yeah.
And then she come back and worked for just a little bit, and then when she
She
passed away, I was like, man, I can't open it no more. I mean, one, it was too much work, and two, it was just a lot of memory.
It
So,
was. She
and
was
Blondie's
there
was-
lots of
yeah,
days we
lots.
were open.
Yeah,
She
she
loved
loved
it.
it.
She
She
did.
loved it.
Of course, when she was little, she said her grandma owned the restaurant Larison's.
Worked there for him, I
So
think.
she worked
Yeah.
with her grandma. Yeah.
So, but once we figured out that if we give all of our attention to Blondie's and
That's all
worked
we
hard at
needed.
it, you know, we were fine. I mean,
Yeah. That's all we
yeah,
needed.
it's all we needed. And it's been great for several years now.
It has.
We're trucking
It
right
has.
along.
One of the things that I like to hear from small business owners is people that, you know, you get knocked down a few times, you keep trying.
Oh,
And-
yeah. Absolutely.
And small business is hard. It really is.
It is
I know
hard.
that, and why I want to have a lot of the small businesses on here in our community that have been successful, because, you know, I think sometimes people think you just open up a small business or a storefront or restaurant and away it went.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I love to hear the story of you guys encouraging each other so much. I mean, you guys could have easily the first time something went down a bad path, said, you know what, we're done with this. Let's just go get a couple 8 to 5 jobs somewhere.
Right.
Let's be done with this. You could have easily done that. But
we
you,
could have. Absolutely.
yeah, but you didn't. It sounds like you just kept encouraging each other.
We did.
And you just kept trying to find the right combination until it was right.
Well, here's what makes me feel good about it. When somebody and I talk about all the stuff we've done, when somebody asks me, I say, hey, listen, I've owned small businesses or businesses in 3 counties and never shut one of them down that I wasn't making more than another one to go do it. We didn't
That's
ever
right.
have one failing business. Now, we've had businesses that wasn't enough solely just to take care of our family, which Big Daddy's was one of them. And knew we had to get to a point where one business, you can't, for me, we couldn't do 5 businesses till we're 70, but we can do one, I think. I think I can. So that's, every business we had was profitable.
Absolutely.
I mean, everything was.
It was.
And, and I've always been the type to chase a dollar. I mean, that's what we're here for. So.
But we wanted it to be a hometown thing too, though. We wanted,
yeah.
we love seeing people we know come in. And most of the time that is our crowd at
Yeah.
Blondie's, is most people from Brownstown area or Salem that I went to school with. We have a lot of Bedford people that do come in that we've known from racetracks. So it's been lovely in
Yeah.
that sense.
I've learned that Blondie's transcends location. I'm going to tell you firsthand.
yeah.
I mean, I've been a couple hours away and talked to people that lived far away, and I'll say, now, where are you from? And I'll say, no, Brownstown. I say, nah, Brownstown. We stopped at a pizza joint on the corner
Yeah.
around, and then they'll get to telling the story. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say,
That's awesome.
"We stopped in Brownstown, went to Blondie's. Boy, that sure was good. That was a great place."
That's awesome.
So this is a podcast of stories, correct?
Oh, yeah.
I got to tell you, this is a good one. Tawnya and I went to Sanibel on vacation all by herself one year. And I'll just say his name, me and Tim Robinson, we go on vacation, sometimes together, sometimes not. But a little fun thing we have is when you see a good-looking woman, you try to get a picture with her and you send it to Tim, or he sends it to me.
I'm sure he's
You
going to
do.
love hearing this on the
Well,
podcast.
and the wives know it because we do it
We
right in
do.
front
We
of
know.
them.
We know.
So me and Tanya's at Sanibel, and there's literally, you may not see 15 people a day, because we had our condo on kind of like, or a house, kind of on a private beach. People would walk, but you just didn't see many. And then,
Yeah.
okay, so we got to be choosy. We need a good looking. So I sat in there, me and Tanya, I go, hey. Look, here come two women. And from a distance, they were beautiful, both of them.
They were.
And when they got closer, they were even more beautiful. So I said, hey, girls, come find out they were mother and daughter.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, buddy of mine's expecting me to get a picture with some of the most beautiful women. I said, I've done took one with my wife. So I said, I need a picture with you two. Oh, okay. Where are you from? Well, Brownstown. I said, you know where Indianapolis is and Louisville, right in between them? She said, oh, we got family in Seymour. That's right. They were from North Carolina.
Uh-huh.
I said, really? She said, yeah. And she said, you ever been to Brownstown? She said, yeah, we ate at a pizza place there, Blondie's. And I said, meet Blondie. And I thought I was going to have to go back to the room and get my driver's license to prove to them who we were,
Yeah.
because they were like, no. I'm like, yeah, we own Blondie's on the beach in Sanibel Island.
It's a small world.
It's crazy.
A very small world.
And we get that a lot, if you do, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
But that's got to make you proud too, to know that you've done something that has a reputation, a name, and it, like I said, it transcends Brownstown a little bit.
Thank
Yeah.
you. It is. It does make us proud.
And the good part is, as long as we do what we're supposed to do, I hear this saying a lot, where if you're not changing and you stay stale, you're going to end up stale. No. As long as you start with a good product and you keep a good product, people are going to keep coming. As long as I keep good help, and I've got great help. And not that I've had help that I didn't like, but right now I have got 12 or 13 people working for us, and they're all great.
Yeah.
I mean,
They really are.
for the short interview you put them through before you hire them, you really don't know where you're at on them, to be honest. I'm sure you've hired a few over your years and thought, dang, I wished I'd have known what I'd have known,
Yeah.
And it's hard because a lot of them you like, but they're just not great workers. And then you take your great workers and they're like, need to find a way for him or her to bye-bye.
Yeah.
So our business, like we're here right now, and it's right down the street, and I'm sure they're busy, but I've got good enough help that we can just go, and we've got good enough help now she can take care of the grandbaby, and as long as we do what we've done, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, there's the question of, did you start a business, or did you create a job? I ask myself that sometimes.
Yeah.
Did I just create a job for myself, or did I start and create a business? And there's a difference there.
There is.
And when you have people good enough that they can take care of things, and you can step away, and the business keeps going, you've created a successful business.
Yes.
That the place just doesn't fall apart the moment you walk out the door.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You're so
Oh, and it falls
right.
apart sometimes, but sometimes it falls apart with me right in the middle
Yeah.
of it,
Doesn't
On
matter.
a Friday night
Yeah.
at 6:30.
Yeah. And
Regardless.
I've got a saying, and it's always, hey guys, we're not brain surgeon, we're just making pizza. So if something happens, the only thing's going to happen is people can't get pizza. That's
Yeah.
it, And
Yeah.
some people it upsets, but we run a gas oven, and at a very hot temperature, so the thermocouplers will go out. Well, thermocoupler goes out, you don't know when. Like the last one, I just changed one Friday right after lunch. Most of the time it lasts about a year, but maybe I should be on a program where I change them every 6 or 8 months, but we change them when they go out, and it just chose to go out on a Friday, and you can't change them as soon as they go out. You burn your arms. You got to take the bricks out, but hey, we're just making pizza. We'll get going here for long, and
Yeah.
we'll be, so, and I've got Cash that's worked for us since the day we opened, and
Yep.
she probably takes that stuff a little more personal than I do, which is great to have an employee like that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Then Chandler, our youngest son, takes care of most nights for us.
Yeah, I know what
He's
that's
a great-
like,
he-
having kids
It's so
work
nice.
for you. Yeah.
I mean, they have some turbulent times, but they have great ones
Sure.
too.
Well, and they have your best interest at heart.
He does.
No matter what happens, if something happens, you're gone.
Yes.
Your kid's working for you, or, I've been blessed. I had my dad work for me for a while, and that your family has your best interest of the situation at hand.
Absolutely.
And that's huge
It is.
in a small business.
It really
You
is.
know?
Yeah, Chandler's favorite words is when I call him if we're busy. I said, "What's up?" "Oh, just line in your pockets." That's his favorite saying.
Yeah.
I said,
He
"Well,
does say
that's
that.
what you're paid to do. Appreciate that."
Yeah. Yeah. You guys have done a lot of good things here in this town. And I don't think, I know you're both humble people, but I don't think you can think of Brownstown without thinking of Blondies or thinking of Mason and Tawnya Fleetwood. You guys are such a fixture of our town. It's
so
probably
nice.
yeah, but I don't think a lot of people that think that way. But I want you to know it.
Yeah.
And we're not a big town, 2,900 people
Right.
strong, and it's nice to know that people have a place like Blondie's. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank
because
you.
Your restaurant is more than just a local restaurant. It's a place that people here locally don't have to drive to Seymour or don't have to drive to Bedford. And first of all, how spoiled does that sound for us?
Right.
There's people in
It does.
Indianapolis that drive the distance across town that it takes us to get to Seymour and we don't think nothing of it.
Right.
But it's so comforting to know that on a Friday night or Saturday night, or heck, just even a weeknight, you get a night like, what? I worked later. My wife worked later. It's just not, darn it, let's just go to Blondie's. And you don't go there because it's close. You go there because you're going to get a great meal and the hospitality is going to be there. We're just lucky to have it because we don't have the population base
Right.
to look around this town and see 10 or 15 restaurants. So when we do get a couple, it's so important that it's good food, it's good people. So, we're blessed as a town, in my opinion, to have
Thank
it.
you.
So,
We appreciate that.
You're a prime example of this. We know so many people in this town. Sometimes we talk to people longer than it took them to eat, and you're one of those. There's lots of times you'll stand at the counter and we'll
Yeah.
talk, and your boys and Quinn will be like, "Hey, we'll meet you in the truck,"
Yeah.
and we'll stand there and talk deer hunting or racing or whatever. And it's like that with a lot of people.
I grew up that way. My granddad would say, "Hey, we're going into town. We're going to pick up some parts." And I'd say, "Oh, how long we going to be? How many people we going to stop and talk to?" And he was that way. My dad was that way. I've been a people person because of that.
Yeah.
And so when I see people here in this town, I want to take a few minutes, talk to them. And my oldest son's the same way. He's learned that. He wants to sit and talk to people.
Yes, our boys are like their dad.
Oh,
That's
your
right.
oldest son talks to me forever.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Me and him and Quinn get talking about racing, and we could probably, you could just pay them for an afternoon to stay and talk because and he's excited about it. He likes
He does.
He likes racing.
Yeah, he grew up. We put him in a go-kart when he was 4.5 years old.
Wow.
And we raced go-karts, me and him and my dad. And when my dad got cancer and passed away, it was just too hard for us. We just didn't feel right. You couldn't go to the racetrack, without him, and it changed. And so Jake got that racing bug at a real early age. And like you said, Mason, once that gets in your blood, man, it's just hard to get out of it. And you can still scratch that itch a little bit, with your dad.
And I'm just lucky my itch wasn't just to drive.
Right.
Like today, I had Mabel all day, my granddaughter, and we went to my dad's shop. And my dad, when I bring Mabel, he stops. He don't keep working. Devin will keep working a little bit, and then I've got my great nephew Grayson, and he'll just keep playing video games. But yeah, my dad will stop, and I hung out there for 2 hours today, and I do every Monday. Monday we're closed at Blondie, so we have the grandbaby on Mondays, and she pretty much don't see her much on Mondays.
Papa, Mabel, and Granddad's Day.
Yeah, we go to my dad's every Monday and hang out for a couple hours, long enough she can sleep a little, eat, and hang out.
Yeah.
And that's life.
That's
really,
good life.
That's the good
That's
life.
right.
You talk about living the good
Exactly
life. That
right.
is a prime example of living the good life.
It's a big week for them. I mean, it's icebreaker week, and it's a big week for Brownstown.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
It brings so much money to the community. The
really
racetrack
does.
and it doesn't matter, who runs the racetrack. The people in this town I mean, I could bring Cash up here and set her down, and she would tell you that a third of our business on Saturday when they race is racetrack people. Race season, I've got employees that come in at 3 on Saturday, employees that come in at 4. During race season, everybody comes in at 3 because we're busy from the racetrack, and they all know me, you know. And it's crazy because when you run a racetrack, you're not always the most liked person. You know, most of them liked Tawnya because she was paying them at the end of the night. But most of them didn't like me because Tawnya wasn't paying them enough at the end of the night. That's what they'd say. But
what I was shocked with is there were a lot of people that came that I thought didn't like us at the racetracks.
Yeah, you're right.
And they
You're
did.
right.
They just it was just a different atmosphere, but they
passionate.
did. Yeah.
They're just like, I mean, I don't know you real well, Dan, but I feel like I know enough to say that you're really passionate about deer hunting.
Yeah.
Really passionate about deer hunting.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's, then it turns in, and you know this, you turn into hunting with your boys and it becomes about them. But yeah,
Correct.
go ahead.
He doesn't
Sure.
even carry a gun anymore.
We'll get to that in a minute. But, you know, these people that race, they're so passionate about it. So if I make a call, the Hineses, Jeremy Hines and them, some of my best friends now. Rick
They really are.
and Janice come in all the time and eat. Love them, great people. But we've had our ups and downs at the racetrack because, you know, I made calls that they didn't like, and they're so passionate about it. It wasn't against me. It wouldn't have mattered who made that call. It wasn't because I'm Mason Fleetwood.
Yeah.
It was because of the call I made. And they're just, and you know, some people, and I'm not saying the Hineses, but some people, they need that money to get to the racetrack next week. You know, and plus, most of the time you're racing for points, so you want. So, but yes, what she's hit on is some people you think, man, I think he liked you. And then they'll come in and eat and go, man, you did the best you could. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and Tawnya was always nice to us. Sometimes didn't agree with you. You know, I had an old buddy of mine named Randy Petro. You remember Randy at all from going to races?
No, I don't.
He hadn't raced much lately, but when I raced and my dad raced, we never seen eye to eye with the Petros. But Randy told me something one time. He said if we could all just not say a word till Sunday or maybe Monday, no matter what happens on Saturday. He said if we could all just keep our mouths shut till Monday. And you know how many Monday afternoon conversations I had with Randy Petro? Many, walking up and down my driveway talking to him about what happened. And lots of times people don't like a winner, and he was a winner. So he was taking a lot of crap from sometimes me because he would retaliate, you know. Yeah, we had some dandies at Vernon, and it wore us slick, and it really wore her slick. I was glad we got out when we did. So I aggravate her every once in a while. Say, hey, I think we might go back over there, or we might run a race. She's like, nope, ain't doing it.
Yeah. But success and passion go hand in hand.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, I'm ate up with my surveying stuff, you know, and I know that it probably bores a lot of people to death. I post a lot about it on Facebook.
Oh,
stuff.
no.
I think surveying is
Your posts are
amazing.
Yeah, and sometimes I think, you know, probably people think I'm probably ate up. I'm probably crazy because
No.
you can probably sense the passion in what I do, and sometimes I think I gotta calm down because probably people don't realize that, you know, this isn't near as interesting as maybe I think it is. But if you're going to be successful at it, whether that's racing, running a small business, it doesn't matter. You've got to be passionate about
Yes,
what you're
you
doing,
do.
or it's going to turn into a job, you know. And
Absolutely.
I'll tell you something I figured out between racing and working at Blondie's. Very seldom will you see me have somebody, if I'm not super, super busy, that comes up and pays, and I don't say, hey, thank you for your business.
yeah,
If they don't acknowledge me, I'll say it again because I'm thinking maybe they didn't hear me.
And sometimes they don't.
But we ran the No Way Out 40, big sprint race.
Yeah.
And for a long time, it was the biggest sprint race in Indiana. I mean, and we're proud of it. Was very proud
Well, you
of it.
created it.
Yeah,
And our boys helped name it.
Yeah, so we sold that. And I was telling her this on the way in. We sold it to a guy named Josh Cunningham who raced sprint cars. And he messaged me Sunday. They had it Saturday. He said, hey,
They had it Friday night.
Friday.
Yeah.
Friday. But he texted me Sunday and said, hey, I kept the tradition up. He said, I walked around the track because used to we'd line them all up, push them off, and they'd all be together. Well, now they got this staggering start. You've probably seen this.
Yep.
They line them all the way around the track. Well, by the time they roll them out there, you got to start from the back and walk around and shake. I shake everybody's hand. Hey, thanks for coming. Means the world to me. And it means so much to him. To him, it did. So he messaged me and he said, hey, I kept the tradition going. He said,
Yeah.
Friday night I walked. He said, I was out of breath time I got done. I said, well, I figured out a long time ago, you just get on the radio and tell them, hey, don't push till I tell you to start pushing because I'm not running around here, you know. So, but you go to every car, they're strapped in, everybody's off a track. It's just you and the driver. They pay attention to you, you know, and you thank them. And it means a lot to them. So I do my customers at Blondie's the same way. And years ago, I thought, boy, that was cheesy as heck when you go to Captain D's and they want you to ring the bell and they'd holler, thank you, you know.
Yeah.
But I say it like I mean it because I do, you know, because that pizza you bought probably just paid for me a new fishing pole or something, you know. So you just got to thank them.
I don't know that it would pay for the fishing pole.
Well, the 10 that came in at lunch that I said thanks did.
Yeah. And then, Tawnya, talk about then starting the ice cream shop. And how tell me about how the thought process of what came about of adding that on.
Well, originally we had opened it up and it was called the Blonde Next Door, and it was just a little gift shop. It had, you know, just different things, shirts, candles, just different household item things.
Candles that you made.
I did make them.
And they were very nice.
They're very nice. I still have all my stuff. Hopefully one day I'll make them again. How about that? But it didn't make any money. The shop didn't. It was so nice for our customers to go over there and look and stuff, but it didn't make any money. So a couple summers ago, I sat Mason down in that room and I said, hey, I think it's time to close this and we need to go ahead and open the ice cream shop that you said we needed to do.
So it was Mason's idea for the ice cream shop.
It was Mason's idea.
I wanted to do it.
It was my idea for the pizza, but yeah.
Frank and Carolyn had back porch.
Yeah.
And they closed it down.
Yes, they
did.
did.
They kept all their stuff and they rented right beside us to put their ice cream shop.
Where Colton's law
I
office
didn't
is.
realize that, and I wanted to open an ice cream shop, and then they were telling us, hey, we got all our stuff, we're going to open. So I wouldn't do that to them. I just
No.
I didn't want to do that to them. So they eventually came to me and said, hey, we're not going to open an ice cream shop. I said, really? So I told her, I mean, we talked, we talked about it on Friday, and it was like July 3rd on a Sunday. On that Saturday, it's funny, Dan, you can sell the heck out of stuff. You sell everything half price. We emptied that in one day. I just said everything half price.
Oh,
everything.
yes, in my shop, yeah.
We emptied it on Friday night and Saturday, and Sunday we ripped the carpet out, and it looked like a totally different place. And here we go.
Did.
Yeah.
It
Here.
did.
Well, I know for me and my family anyhow, and I probably can speak for a lot of other people in Brownstown, you've now turned it into a process. You go to Blondie's and you eat, and as soon as you're done eating, you head straight over to the ice cream store or the ice cream shop to figure out not only what ice cream cone you're going to get, but then also what's in the cooler to what you're going to take home. Yeah. So my youngest son's ate up with ice cream and loves it. He'd eat it every day if we'd let him.
Actually, Angie had come to this Blondie's to pick up something from me, and I think it was for our fraternity or sorority that we're both in. And she's like, he's in the car. I tried to get him to get ice cream here, but he had to have it at, I'm not sure where they went, but he was in the car. He was full. He had his ice cream. Yes.
Yeah, because he'll have it once a day.
Yeah,
We'd probably turn him loose on it. But
Is that your youngest?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But no, that's what, I mean, it's turned into, you don't only, for us anyhow, you don't just go to Blondie's when you're done Blondie's and you go pick out what ice cream you want.
It's such great ice cream.
That really
it's
is.
the same thing that Carolyn and
Ashby Sterling.
Yeah,
and we
they
don't
sold
veer
there.
from it. I mean, every vendor we got can deliver Bluebell or whatever, but no, they bring it from Michigan.
Yeah.
It's made in Michigan. They deliver. Matter of fact, we got delivery today of ice cream.
Yep.
But we sell it by the pints all winter long.
So
and we sell a
right
lot
now
of
we're
it.
just scooping it up for the cooler that's in Blondie's right now. That we've had that all winter.
Yeah, and I'm sure that season, I don't want to say, I don't know that ice cream has a season, but it kind of does. It feels like a little bit.
I mean.
So I'm sure that's going to pick up through the summer. And
Correct. Yeah, we're going to open it up mid-April. I think it's Tuesday, after Easter. Is it the 20th maybe?
Something like that. That's what our
April
plan
20th.
is.
Yeah.
And I want to say, and I think you and I have talked about this before, and I asked you one day, but I'm going to say it, Blondie's, without a doubt, has the coldest beer in town. And
It does, doesn't it?
It does.
It is so cold.
Without a doubt. Anybody out there listening, there's no question. Coldest beer in town is at Blondie's.
Would
Thank
you remember
you.
the post I made 3 or 4 years ago? They had the Tribune just had it again, where you vote on stuff in town, and we got voted coldest beer and best salad. So I made a post that you don't have to come get a pizza, just come drink a beer and eat a salad. I mean, at least we weren't going to beat Brooklyn Pizza. I mean, Seymour Tribune and you go vote. And we actually had
we used to stop at Brooklyn a lot on the way home from Twin Cities.
Yeah, we actually sell Sean's beer now.
At 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yep.
Yeah, Sean got us hooked up with some.
I know Sean, and when we're in Seymour, we swing it at Brooklyn too. We love that. We love that place as well. We really do. And Sean's a good dude, and been down that small business role. It's neat how everybody supports each other.
He comes to Blondie's to get chili sticks.
Yep.
And he does often.
Yeah, he's getting his literally the distillery. He's licensed now for all that. So he had a ton of meetings because he always gets chili sticks. Well, we just now got him back in, but I knew when he'd have a meeting with the alcohol commission over there because he'd come 2 orders of chili sticks, and he'd always tell Chandler, "Give me a fork. I'm gonna eat 1 order on the way back." But he's a good one.
Well, you've kind of opened up what you serve over here too. It's like started out with just cold beer out of the fridge, and then you got to the taps and different things and all different things you're trying. Yeah. I like that about it. You guys are. It's the same. A lot of it's the same. It's the traditional stuff that you guys are known for, but it does change a little bit, I like that. So
yeah, it was funny because Tuesday I told Cash, I said, "Hey, this weekend I was looking. The number 1 craft beer in Southern Indiana is one made by Three Floyds Brewery. You ever heard of that?
Yep.
New Albany.
Yep.
It's some marshmallow something." Chandler and Cash look at 13% alcohol.
Oh my gosh.
I said, Lord, they drink one, they'd be drunk. But that's supposedly, and it was on several different sites that it's the number 1 craft beer.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I'd never heard of it until last weekend, and they actually make a bourbon as well. Yeah. And a buddy of mine had some, and he said, "Have you ever heard of this?" And he told me where it's from and all about it. And so they do more than just the craft beer.
That's awesome.
And another craft beer that was way up there, of course, Zombie Dust. And I remember that from 3 or 4 years ago.
I think that's a younger crowd thing, isn't it?
Maybe. I think
it is.
Yeah, we're
as long as we don't get the young ones anymore. We thought we'd get a lot of the kids' friends from high school, but when they come in and their parents were there, they didn't want to be there.
Yeah, that'll change.
Yeah.
As long as we got Busch Light, we're good.
Yeah. That's true. That is probably our number 1 seller.
Busch Light.
Yeah.
We are Jackson County.
Yeah, we are Jackson County. I saw one of them unloading beer over at Happy's one day. I said, I asked him how much you sell of this particular beer. And he said, it's Jackson County. He said, it's Busch Light. It's 10 to 1 to anything else.
My gosh.
Hey, Dan, I got something I want to tell you.
Yeah.
And you're going to smile about this. Guess what I did in 1990 when I graduated high school? What do you think I did? I was working at JC, but I took a month off.
Oh, I know what you did.
Took a month off. So you've been about 18, 19 years old?
I went to Kansas City, Missouri, to the stockyards.
His dad took him.
I went to auctioneer school.
No kidding?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
He's amazing.
I'm a licensed auctioneer in Missouri.
Yeah.
But it was back when they very first, my dad's a licensed auctioneer in Indiana.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he worked at Cummins, and they would pay for any of that side stuff. Well, he was an auctioneer, but then Indiana changed the law. You had to be licensed. So my dad took tests somewhere around here years ago, but he said, I'll go with you and just take a refresher course while I'm out there. And we were out there a month, and I went to Kansas City, Missouri auction school. I had a girl I was dating in Bedford. Her dad run the Indianapolis auto auction. Not her dad, her dad's friend. Bruce Haley was his name, from Bedford or Bloomington, can't really remember. But he told me, he said, if you go, I'll pay for it. You work for me. And my dad said, you know what? It was like $2,000. My dad's like, I just pay for it yourself so you're not tied down if you don't want to work for him. So, make a long story short, me and that girl broke up. I never worked for him.
That's a wild story. And this is why we have this. This is one of the reasons why I want to do this podcast.
Yeah.
You end up learning things about people that you never knew. I did not know that.
Coolest thing, we left the Friday after Thanksgiving. So at night we could go to auction barns and they'd let us auction. So they might have just, you guys were talking at your podcast with Justin about, little knickknacks and antiques. Well, this would be like new Christmas toys. And be maybe 100 people in this little auction house. You got to get up there and sell. You might be selling a Cabbage Patch doll or anything, but it was fun. And our teacher, the one teacher we had, he said the most nervous moment he ever had, he was selling. You had to put your money in a pay and get in a draw to sell horses down somewhere at the Kentucky Derby, blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure. But he said when I sold a colt, and he said when I got to $1 million, he said I didn't know how to call it.
Never been that high.
Never been that high.
Yeah, because your brain develops a chant for the increment that you're in.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. I don't know.
I couldn't.
I think if I got to $1 million and I was in the middle of my chant, I'd probably just come to a stop.
Yeah, and I'll never forget it. He said, I got to $1 million, I couldn't. He said, I thought about just going ahead and selling it because he said, I'm thinking I'm getting 7%. So he's like, but I kept going. He said, I sold it for $1 million too.
That's wild.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was it was right there at the stockyard, so you got to see a lot of that stuff and the classes. It was pretty cool. But when you was talking to Justin, and I thought, I bet Dan don't know
I did not know that. I did an auction last night. I do a lot of, so right after I got my auction license, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago, it was meant to be just as a hobby, as a side job, as a hobby.
You did it for our Trikappa.
Did I really?
You did the dessert dinner auction a couple of years ago.
Okay. And then it turned into an every Saturday deal. And I did that for a few years, and you're trying to raise kids, it got to be too much. And now I don't do it other than to, like, if the Trikappa would call me, or we do a lot of I do some benefit auctions and things like that. Last night we did an NCAA tournament auction for, it's a big deal out in the Wiegand area, and I have a lot of fun with it. And I you're right, man. When you get that, when you learn how to do that and you pick it up, it's a lot of fun. And Justin and I was talking about, it's like riding a bike. You never really forget it.
No,
but
he's good.
The cattle auctions and the car auctions, that's a different breed of auctioneers. That is completely different, man. The pace and how they sell cattle and livestock and horses and cars, that's a different game.
To this day, in class, we had different parts of class. You did the financial side, and then you did the bid calling, but I can still just get them right off the end of my tongue. The Tommy Atadamus took 2 T's, tied them top 2 tall trees. Round a rough and rugged rock, a ragged rascal ran. And we just had to do that to condition, and you just did. It was a blast. And my dad, I always thought, was pretty good at it. And I thought, man, what do I want to do? But it was fun.
Well,
I enjoyed it.
We actually talked about you getting your license years ago and seeing if you could get a job with someone locally on the weekends.
The problem is with it now, and what I face is with all these professions or licenses, you got to carry so much continuing education hours now. For sure. And so with me, it turns into, well, do you want to go spend 2 days every year with additional, because like for me, surveying, I got to keep that up in different states, and it just got to be, it was just too much to keep after. But I don't know, once you're an auctioneer, you're always an auctioneer.
I just wanted to let you in on that nugget.
Yeah.
I thought you'd find that pretty cool.
That is really, really cool. I didn't know that.
So talking about auctioneering, have you hit Dan up to do your
I
dessert
have
auction?
not. It's not. I'm not.
They're bringing it back, Dan. They're bringing it back.
Bringing it back.
I'm not on that committee. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
but they did mention his name.
Well, I'll be more than happy to do it. Maybe Mason come help me out. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I did their Christmas one. Yeah, I did the Christmas one.
You were hilarious, though.
I told them, I said, girls, you're going to have to bid. You're a bunch of tightwads. I can't be here all night. Yeah.
What were they wanting to bid $1 at a time or something like that?
I didn't take less than $10 for anything. I just put something with it. Yeah. I'd be like, hey, here we go.
I think I spent the most money. No, Karen did.
I was going to say, you and Karen Hinton are proud supporters of the auction.
Yeah, we were.
Well, tell me about all the things you do at Trikappa. I know my wife has been involved with that.
Yes.
And you ladies do a lot of really, really good things for our community.
We do.
So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about all the things that Trikappa does and your involvement there.
Well, Trikappa sorority is an Indiana sorority. We do so many things. We don't do as much since COVID happened because, again, COVID caused so much, and our numbers are down a little bit because of COVID. But we do things monthly. We do things at the school or the food pantry over here behind our restaurant. We do those sorts of things. We give away scholarships. We actually, right now, because our budget's been very good the last few years, we give 2 $1,000 scholarships away every May to our high school. I think Medora is also included they can have applications as well. We have what supports the auction. I'm sorry, not the auction. The scholarships is we do a golf scramble out at the golf course, and it's in August. Yeah, it's just fun, and we do things that are. Last year we did some bunco nights at a couple friends' houses just to kind of learn each other again, get to know each other. We do a Christmas thing where we just get together as well at Christmas and just have fun. But it's a great sorority. I'm so glad that I got to join. We actually were having a benefit at Blondie's, and a couple girls from Tri Kappa had came and did stuff to help us. And I was like, wow, I just love to be in this sorority. How do you join? They said, well, you have to have someone ask you to join. So one of the girls did ask me, and I got to join then. So it's been wonderful.
Yeah, I know my wife I think she was involved in like a backpack program or something.
Yes, we did that together.
That was really cool.
It was amazing. Well, the
Blessings in a backpack.
Blessings
in a backpack, and that was in Seymour. You actually auctioneered the benefit for that. The dinner and dessert auction we had, that was a huge one that we had, I guess, in a long time.
It was a hummingbird cake brought like...
Oh my gosh, $500.
What was it?
I'll never forget the hummingbird cake.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Angie Gwynn, I believe, made that.
I don't remember, but I'm like...
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know.
But the blessings in the
$900
backpack.
cake.
I think it was $800 or
cake.
$900.
Was it that much?
Oh, you didn't really buy anything for less than $100. It was chocolate chip cookies. And
yeah, it was amazing.
I remember Paisha Sheffer bought something, and it was like $300. And she's like, cut into her, let's eat it. And I said, you better cut small slices of that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But yes, it was fun.
Blessings in a Backpack is a great program for kids in elementary school. It sends home weekly things for them to eat over the weekend, I believe.
I had no clue. I thought that was like school supplies or something until she told me, and then I'm like,
it's just phenomenal.
Man, they get to go take food home. So
the teachers put it in the kids' backpacks, I believe, without other kids knowing. It's just a private thing, but it's amazing.
Not to get too political, but here's how I feel.
What's that?
I think that somehow during COVID we figured out a way, and maybe we just got our country more in debt, I don't know, to give these kids free breakfast and free lunch. Free.
Well.
Free. Now, here's the thing. To me, that solves two problems.
Okay.
It solves a kid for sure. If he didn't get supper, he's going to get breakfast early, no matter what.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's programs for that. But plus, also, if it was a kid that didn't get supper and his mom and dad can't afford breakfast, he don't get his finger pointed at him. You know what I mean? If he gets free and reduced lunches or whatever. But when they did it free, everybody was the same. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was
figure
nice.
out a way we can do that. I mean,
it was nice. I'm not sure Brownstown.
I'm not sure our school board could figure it out, or if the state could.
I think it's a state.
Well, that was my thing when my wife came home and was involved in that with you.
Yes.
And was talking about it. And probably the first time you heard about Mason, you were like, "Man, this is a great idea."
It is.
I thought they would give them like gym clothes or blessings in a backpack. I didn't know. And then when she told me they went up there and stuffed them full of food so they'd have something to eat over the weekend, I'm like, bingo, that's great.
Yeah, well, thank goodness for all that you ladies do. And I know one of the big things is it seems like it's really easy for us guys to get together, be involved, whether it's golfing or whatever. It's a little harder for ladies to do that. And so sometimes having groups like the sorority and things that they can get together and do things, that's really cool.
It is. It is. I'm always
He
telling
always
her.
asks me, are you going tonight? You're going?
And
of course I do go now that I'm treasurer, and actually that'll be up in June this year. So, but yes.
And it's a great group of women. I mean, you can
it's a fun group of
women. They meet in
Blondie
sometimes, or they'll have a dinner there, whatever, Christmas auction, but they're all fun. I mean, they have a good time. They take a little dessert or a little meal with them wherever they meet. And I think you do a lot at the Brownstown Christian Church, don't you? Meet there a lot?
We do at the Brownstown Christian Church, and we've done some there at Driftwood Christian Church. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, this just goes right on into what I was talking about earlier is both of you have very giving minds and hearts. I know some of the things you do with Blondies is amazing. You guys are so supportive of our schools, all of our teams. One of the things that my wife and I talk about, and I don't think that people know, and I want to say it on this podcast, is you not only support the basketball teams, the football teams, you guys go beyond that. You know, you had the dance team in, the cheer team in, the archery. I mean, you guys think about those kids that are in some of these other sports or activities that a lot of people don't think about.
Absolutely.
And I want to say thank you for that, because there's so many kids that you guys recognize. Not that I don't think people don't want to. That's not it. It's just I don't think people think of it.
Sure, I understand that.
I agree with you there.
And you guys have that mindset of all these kids need recognized. All these kids need the same thing. And I know I want to speak for my wife and all the clubs and teams that you guys have in at Blondie's and do dinners for. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
We try hard at it. I mean,
we do.
I never really thought of that, and I was the one that never really thought much about that. I mean, I always wanted to support all the teams, and I have a little girl that works for me, or us, that is a cheerleader. And she was talking about the sectional runs we made a few years, and the regional and all that, and the boys in between the sectional games or regional or semi-state, they were getting all their food bought for them, and cheerleaders never got nothing.
Yeah.
And I'll say his name. Greg Reedy bought him a meal at semi-state a few years back. I think they said it was Greg Reedy. I know it was, in between the games.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody intentionally leaves anybody out.
No, I agree.
Think about it. So we've got the drill team. We've got the cheerleaders, and the robotics team. We've fed them. And then that program kind of got put on stale. We do the baseball team. Really hard to do the football team. There's so many of them. But
and they do meals for them every Friday. The parents do.
And our basketball team, the boys' basketball team with Dave, I mean, they're a big supporter of Blondie's. I mean, we feed them a lot. So we try. We actually just did. I was on a fishing trip, so I didn't get to do the sectional dinner, so I told Davis, just win and we'll get you after the regional.
I can't believe we're an hour into this and we haven't talked fishing.
Yeah, Oh, my gosh. Do you have the rest of the night for that?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that real quick. We talked about taking things serious, and I know you're serious about your fishing. How did that take off from just a love of fishing to what it's turned into now? And tell me about what it is that's turned into.
Well, I'm going to give you the straight up answer. I am now financially able to do it how I want to do it. I mean, go where I want to go, fish and I'm by no means bragging or no means rich, but I can go and fish, and if I don't do well, it don't affect anything when I come home. It's just a heart text from her, and you'll get them next time. So early on, we fished a lot, and I had a blast. A lot of little club tournaments. It don't matter if you're fishing for $100 or you're fishing for $5,000 or $6,000. You're going to fish just as hard and do the best you can to win. So, was you going to say something, Ann?
Well, I was just going to say that I remember when you and Tim were fishing out of the
plastic boat.
Correct.
The pond hoppers is what they're called.
Yeah, I got
our
one.
first year of marriage.
I got one.
Well,
they were taking that to fish tournaments.
We were fishing a little bit and borrowing his grandpa's boat and whatever. And then my cousin Tony was fishing a lot of tournaments. And I told Tim, I said, remember the boat yard up on 31?
No.
There was a place called the Boat Yard on 31. They had those boats, and they were $399.
And you took some of a tax check, I think, 1 year.
I think I did.
In our early days. Well, Colton was one.
So I went and bought one, and I told Tim, I said, hey, Tim liked to fish. I said, we're going to rig this baby up and fish some bass tournaments at Starfollow and John Hay. And we got laughed at a little bit till we won a few. And then
you get to winning a lot.
And then one time we rolled in, and an old boy said, who's fishing out of the big cooler? And my cousin Tony said, well, that's Mason and Tim. You aren't careful, they'll beat you. And we won that night. And it was just great. But
and then the next year you got you a new boat.
I bought a brand new Procraft in 96. And I probably enjoyed just fishing more. I mean, I love tournaments. But in 96, 97, 98, I just fished a lot. Just go fishing. And then I upgraded from there. And then I got a little more serious, wanted to fish a little bigger stuff. But then, I got two boys. So it's hard to make time. But as bad as this might sound, I was so fortunate that Colton hated fishing. I never had to. Colton loved hunting and muzzleloaders. I never had to take him fishing at the same time. And Chandler never loved to fish for bluegill. He wanted to go bass fishing. If he only caught 2 all day, he was fine. So
Yes, he was.
he'd get right in the boat with me the hottest days and go, and he wasn't high maintenance. He'd tie his own baits on, he'd fish. So I was fortunate there. And then he got to fish in a few tournaments with me, and we fished a series called Next Generation, the USA Bassin. And what year was it? 18 or 19? 18.
No, he graduated in 17.
17
would have been
then.
2017.
Yeah, 17. We won the national championships where he fished together on Kentucky Lake. And he won a $5,000 scholarship, which he used to go to Purdue. Mm-hmm. Which this is a real proud moment of mine. Him and his buddy Zach was the first two to ever make the national championship in college bass fishing from Purdue. Wow. So, and things just didn't work out and they didn't go, but it was a pretty proud moment, and he fishes a lot today. He's got his own bass boat, and he just got back from Kentucky Lake fishing. But in 2018, I bought a new boat. 17, bought a new boat. In 18, I won a big tournament at Kentucky Lake. Two of them. Well, one won, finished second in another one. Won $25,000.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, I was 100% hooked.
Yeah. Yeah, when you win $25,000 fishing, it's no longer just a little hobby. I think that at that point it becomes serious.
It was, and actually it was serious.
It was
couple of years leading up to that.
But then when you win one, all you want to do is win another one, and they're hard to win. I mean, and we're fortunate enough
you can pre-fish one day in your spot that you're going to catch 5 good keepers, and the next day not get anything, just blank.
We were fortunate enough to finish second in that big tournament 2 more times down there. And then they moved at Chickamauga, and we struggled a little bit, but Tim fishes with Johnny. They figured that out a little quicker than we did down there. But once we figured it out, we would finish. It's pretty cool because guys from Indiana can normally go and finish in the money out of state. Like me and Tim just went to a tournament down at Guntersville. It's called the Solo 150. Probably the funnest tournament I've ever had as an adult, beyond my kid fishing with me. I fished by myself. Usually you have a co-angler or a partner, but you fish by yourself. So there was, I don't remember what there was, 79, 80 boats, and I finished 10th and got a check. But there was only me, in the top 15 they paid, there was me and one other guy that wasn't from Alabama. Everybody else was from right there, home cooking. And these kids nowadays, man, the top 5 were probably average age of 21.
Yeah.
They do the live scope and look at them, and it's like a half of it. You still got to be able to fish. Don't get me wrong. But I try. I mean, I've got all that stuff, all the bells and whistles. And I practiced with it for 3 or 4 days, and finally I just said, heck with it, I'm going fishing. Yeah. I called her on Thursday. We started on Friday, and I said, I was nervous. I said, I found them. If I can get a big bite or two, I called Chandler and said, I just turned my trolling motor on, went up the bank, caught 25 keepers. And I hadn't caught hardly anything all week. And he's like, well, quit catching them. I said, I'm just going up the bank. I ain't staying on nothing. So I didn't catch nothing real big, a couple 4-pounders, but tournament day I had 2 5s and a 7 the first day, had 24 pound. And that's really good for one guy, especially a guy that that's my second time in my life I'd ever been there fishing. I'd been there to watch a Bassmaster Classic, but it was just a great tournament. And then we'll head to, however you want to say it, Weiss or Weiss Lake in Alabama in a couple weeks. But Tim and I travel together and fish those. And I think it's the same for him. It's just we finally got to a place in our life where we're not raising kids. That probably should have been the first thing I said, maybe not financially. But when your boys get old enough to take care of themselves and they can help look after mother, well, we can go a week, And I've got good enough help that, between 2 weeks ago and the second week of May, I'll be gone 3 weeks, and then by July I'll be gone 5 weeks fishing. Yeah, it's expensive. I cashed a good check down there, and I still come home $600 in the hole. So unless you win them big tournaments like we won, you don't come out ahead. I'll be honest with you, last year's the first year, and I couldn't tell you how many that I didn't have to file any taxes on my fishing. I didn't win enough.
No, we
didn't.
That
sucks. I love paying taxes on fishing. But that's the first year in many, and that was kind of a shell shock to me when I thought of it. I'm like, damn, I won some money, but nothing big, and I'm like, dang, that's tough. Because when I fished for Chandler a lot, Next Generation, well, like I said, we won it one year, and that was a scholarship, but they paid cash from second place on down. Well, heck, Chandler's like, oh, I like second place because they paid us, but And then Chandler also, he earned a scholarship to Bethel University to go fish. It was a big one. Of course, that's a private school and it's expensive. But he didn't want to go down to Bethel, Tennessee. He wanted to go to Purdue. So,
I wanted him to go, but
yeah. And they're straight up got a fishing team. I mean, they give
those
scholarships
schools
for
down
it.
there.
And, and it's come a long way in 10 years to where you were lucky to, forever you wasn't getting nothing. But Bethel, a lot of places down in Kentucky will give a scholarship for a fisherman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a whole new thing now.
It's cool.
Yeah, it is. It's nice.
But that pretty much sums up my fishing. I mean, I just fish. I don't fish a whole lot around here. I do some, and then I've got what I call Team Blondies fishing, that I've got 7 or 8 guys that are buddies of mine. And to be honest with you, people always ask me, well, how you pick your Blondies fish? Well, 90%, well, no, all of them are customers of mine. I'm not going to sponsor somebody
Even
that
your
don't
good
support.
friends that are on that are customers.
I mean, I've got Tim Robinson, John Watson, Tony Fleetwood, Chandler, Carson, Isaac Johnson, and Lincoln Bowen, and Alan Boyd. Now, Alan don't get over much, but Alan's probably the most well-known fisherman. I mean, he fished professional for a few years, but it's just a team. I just thought it would be cool, and we did a lot sponsoring race cars, and I finally told her, I said, hey, I'm done sponsoring race cars. We're going to be done with that, and I'm going to sponsor a few fishing guys. And they're the guys that I don't have to shell out a bunch of money to. I can just give them some shirts, jackets, and give them gift certificates because they all eat with me. So it's like money to them. So
yeah, it's kind of cool. We're starting to figure that out now. There's a whole new life after you raise your kids. You don't want to wish that away too fast.
Oh, no.
But it's also exciting to find that life, the two of you, or your own interest after your kids have grown up. We're in that now.
Yeah.
My oldest is out of school. My middle's in college, and we're already starting to see
That's
what life is going to be after we've raised kids. And you found fishing, and you guys are involved in a lot of different things, and so.
And I'll go with him a couple times a year.
Yeah,
Me
not
and the
fishing.
dog.
Not fishing, but they'll go stay with me.
They'll
Another thing,
yeah.
real quick, Dan, is I would never. And I made the comment, I hope that didn't sound bad, where I'm financially able. But half of my financial able is my partners in fishing. And I've got about 8 of them, and I won't list their names on here. They know who they are, because that's not really what this podcast is about. But that's why, I mean, if I didn't win a dime, the fishing I'm going to do won't cost me a penny. I've got that good of support from local and bigger companies. And the thing is, you don't have to win a million tournaments for them people to want to be on board with you. You just got to represent them well and be a decent person, And everyone I deal with are good people. And Celery's wrapped my boat two times now, and I've never had to ask for a replacement sticker, because everybody, when I get them to get on board, I tell them, hey, it's probably a 3-year deal. But knowing if somebody has a tough time, can't do it. But never, I keep them. I try to advertise their business a little bit and represent them well, Yeah, the only thing you don't want to do when you win all that money and you get on stage is forget to tell your wife thank you.
He did not thank me when he first won that tournament.
Sold a truck for J.D. Roberts, though.
You did, but you didn't thank your wife.
I drove a Denali down there, and the guy really liked it. But I was like, anybody wants to buy that truck? And then I got done, and I was like, dadgummit. So when we finished second in the last one.
I didn't even care that he won. I was just like, everyone before him said, I just want to thank my wife and kids, and got to thank my wife.
I forgot.
You'll never do that again.
Got to thank Jesus and my wife.
So 3 days later, we finished second in another big tournament. I laid it on thick, probably too thick. Hey, I just want to thank my wife, and get down here. And, if it wasn't for her, couldn't do this. She's at home, take care of the bit, blah, blah, blah. I think she sent me a puke emoji.
I did.
When I walked off the stage, and that was 15,000 that day. Yeah, I walked off the stage and I don't get a thumbs up. I get a puke emoji. And that's something else we're talking about. That was cool because I had so many people texting me because they do the weigh-ins live.
Yeah, that is so nice to watch.
It just traveled really quick, and then you just had so many people that were texting you, that people you didn't even
realize watched
Yeah, that
fishing.
you didn't even realize.
But to some degree, that's Brownstown. That's
Correct.
this
You are
community.
so-
I mean,
Brownstown's
people that you didn't
amazing.
know. I mean, I'm sure there's people that have tuned into this podcast that I'd never dreamed would.
Well, you're
And
right.
it's like looking in, like somebody probably come in and say, I watched the weigh-in. And you
Yeah.
probably thought, I wouldn't have never dreamed
I
that they
know.
would log on and watch a weigh-in of a fishing tournament.
Brownstown's so good about that.
Brownstown's great.
It is.
Yeah.
It's
Great.
just
It's-
amazing.
Well, that brings me to the question that and I've said this on the first couple, 2 or 3, I'm always going to ask is, I want to hear from you, what makes Brownstown special? What makes Jackson County special? What makes this whole community different in your eyes?
You going first?
I can go first. Well, growing up, you always saw the melons or corn in different counties, Washington County, and it would have a sign that says Jackson County corn, Jackson County melons. Had no idea, you're little, you don't realize where it's from. And then I marry someone from Jackson County, and I move over here in the farming communities, and it's just so wonderful. I love everything about Brownstown. I think everyone truly cares about our school systems, our kids' ball teams. It's just amazing, and I love the corn. I put corn up every season. I didn't last year, but yeah, his mom taught me how to do that.
Yeah, the county definitely has a lot to offer.
It does.
I mean, it does. And
It does. And yes, it's a public school, but it's such a good school system. It really is.
yeah,
And
I agree with
but
that.
I also think the surrounding counties have good school systems as well that are public.
We're just a little better.
But we're just it's
a little
just
better.
amazing.
Here's something I always say, Dan. Where else can you live that you can make a living in a pizza shop? I walk across the street, do my banking, cut across the street.
And get a
or
haircut.
Get a haircut, and then go up to my doctor's office, and then walk across and pay my taxes.
Yeah.
And then go down here and have a meal at the Mexican restaurant for one, or go have a burger up at Boogity Bell's,
Yeah.
Frankenburgers, which
you order out.
I
It's
order there a lot.
usually-
I like it. I mean, we can do everything we need right here. Brownstown Hardware, I'm sure
Yeah.
you know how Facebook has #1 fans for certain people? I'm sure I am at the Brownstown Hardware. I mean,
It's a great
there's
store.
just so much in this town that you got to support. We bought every appliance we've ever owned from Stuckwish Appliance.
Stuckwish Appliance,
Every one of them.
absolutely.
Every one of them. I mean, we don't get Colton, my oldest son, just bought one from Marty. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and Andy there. I mean, we just do business here, I would mess their names up. So the folks that own the 2 car washes, I see them 2 times a week in Blondie's.
Jeff
Yeah.
Austin. Yep.
So I'm making a
There
point.
you go.
I don't take my truck to any other car wash. That's where I go. And
And we've never had the need for surveying, but if we ever do, we're going to have you do it.
Well, this is not a plug
I
for
know,
that.
but
we got-
I'm just saying, it's just you just want to give everyone in Brownstown your business.
And
Well,
95% of the people you do business with will walk through your back door and eat lunch with you twice a week. I mean, they just do, and it's what makes it great. And
Yeah, you naturally want to support the people that support you,
Yeah.
and it's contagious here.
It is.
It is.
It
And,
really is.
You made a comment there that I picked up on about what all we have here in Jackson County. We have a fair that's unique.
Oh gosh, how did I forget the fair? Yeah, it's amazing.
We have a
When we
racetrack that's unique.
Yeah, when we were kids, my dad would bring us to the fair over here one time, every year. So it's an amazing fair.
I brought a friend over that lives a couple hours from here over, and if in the fall, the Jackson 100 usually falls on the same weekend as the Jackson Bowl.
is again this year. It always
Yes.
does.
Yeah, and he came into town, and so it was a home game at Brownstown, the Jackson 100, and he came in. He's like, "What in the world is going on in this little town?" And I said,
Yes.
"Welcome to the biggest weekend in Brownstown."
That's right.
I don't know. Connor may have that.
Well,
Connor and
yeah,
his
I think-
gang may have
I
that.
tell you,
Yeah.
that's an amazing
What a
event.
job by all those folks. You know what I mean? To have a vision and stick with it, and
Yeah.
it's just
It's awesome.
Yeah, kudos to them. Because I know Connor darn sure doesn't do it by himself. Ain't no way he could. So kudos to all of them. It's just pretty neat. But
It really is.
our town has everything we need. And Tawnya, thing is now it stinks for us because we can very seldom go to any ball game if we're running our business properly. That's
Yeah, we used to have,
the thing.
the
And we
tickets
used to
for
go
all the.
every Friday night to the football games, every basketball. Is there anything better than to walk into the basketball game and you hit that door and open it and you smell the popcorn? I mean,
Well, it's almost become a social event
Oh,
here
absolutely.
in Brownstown. You go to the ball game and to see everybody. Yeah, you're going to see the ball game too,
Yeah.
but it's a social event.
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
nice.
And just like Elm Street.
Yeah.
There's another thing that I've brought people to that don't live around here. And I like to sit out on Elm Street.
We used to,
and
we
grill
like
out,
to
and
sit out.
That's
We did.
another thing that's unique to
It's
our
cool.
town and our community. And I feel like a lot of places you go to, they be trying to figure out every way to get you to buy a ticket,
Right.
and not here. I mean, they know that Elm Street is its own thing,
Yeah.
and it's a tradition. And
Probably 75% of the people out there have a season ticket.
They
Yeah.
probably do. Well, we did.
We always did.
Absolutely.
that's a true story, and
Yeah.
I've heard that before. I'm the same way. We've got family season passes and stuff,
Yeah.
and I sit out there. I mean, so
Well,
yeah,
heck,
you're
they
probably
couldn't
right.
probably fit everyone in that had a season ticket to the
And how
ball
about our
games.
baseball field?
Yeah.
Finally. I mean, that's pretty cool.
I
mean,
can't wait to see that. That'll be nice.
It looks pretty good.
So I've had some people say that Brownstown's a little drunk on their sports, and I have challenged that, and I've said, yeah, I get it. I mean, we have very successful sports programs here at
We
Brownstown.
do. We really do.
But what I try to tell people is what you're not seeing is the community involvement that makes our sports teams what it is. This town comes together to support to all of these teams and all these things that happen. And you're not, yes, we have great coaches. We got great sports teams, don't get me wrong, and we got great school system. But what you're seeing is, in my opinion, you're seeing a product of town pride and support. And that's really where it
I
is. That's the
agree with
missing
that,
piece that people
yeah.
don't see.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
Spot
for
on.
sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I would hate to see the amount of T-shirts that, for the most part, Scott Jackson, I think, makes a lot of them. But the amount of sectional or basketball or football or girls basketball or volleyball, our
Yeah.
girls volleyball team's been successful for years.
Yes.
And it's just, at any given time, there's 3 or 4 people sitting in Blondie's that's going to have on a sports T-shirt of Brownstown.
I'd hate to know how many sports of different T-shirts I've bought over the years. I mean, it's
I
just
don't
been
think
insane.
I wore anything but Brownstown shirts when the kids were in school. I mean, that's what I
Right.
wore every day
Yeah.
of my life.
I got to tell you, I had a girls basketball one on earlier.
Yeah.
And I seen you posted tonight. I have all my embroidery stuff done by Robin Pauley.
Yeah.
That's
Great.
nice.
She does a great, even though they're right outside of town, something Brownstown needed.
Yeah.
And,
She's
if you've got
such a
something you
nice
want to get
person,
done, you're
too.
going to get it in 2 weeks, at least, if so, yeah, when I seen you posted that today, I thought, that's another great add-on. And then we've got Pewter Hall, which is the biggest venue in the county for weddings, probably. And then we've got 2 other venues in town with Oddfellows and W.R. Ewing.
Yeah.
And I mean, we
They're
just got
all
a
nice
lot of
places.
we've got a lot of you can get anything you need or get anything done. You can get tattooed down there now if you want.
Yeah.
I mean,
and a mile and a half. What is it? We have 1.5 square miles, I think. Maybe.
I don't know.
I think that's about what
That's
it
your
is.
job.
That's
Okay.
my job to know
Yeah,
that.
that's your job.
I mean, we're less than 2 square miles, probably city limits,
Yeah.
but, you don't have to live in the city limits to be considered live in Brownstown,
No.
know.
No, not at all.
But, well, I'm kind of looking over and I was trying to make some notes as we were talking. I think I got through everything. It's been a pleasure to have you guys on this podcast.
Thank you.
Like I said, when I put this whole podcast together and I started making a list, there's a lot of people on that list, but you guys were very high on that list because I don't think you can think of Brownstown without thinking of the 2 of you and thinking about Blondies. And so I wanted to make sure
It's
I
very
got you.
sweet.
I wanted to make sure I got you on there very early. So thank you so much for doing this. Thanks for dropping by. And who knows, maybe we'll do it again sometime.
we
Thank you,
appreciate
Dan.
you, and I just tell you, we're lucky to live in this county, but we're darn sure lucky to live in this town.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to get a place in this town because we're so great. I mean, it's just great.
Yeah, eventually people are going to get sick of hearing it probably.
I don't know.
Either that or
I've lived here 30
Yeah.
years and it's been pretty good.
yeah, either that or it's going to get to a point where it's impossible to buy a house around here.
I think
Oh,
it
I
is
think-
impossible
I think
right now.
It's about to get there.
Yeah.
So
The
it's,
housing market's supposed to not be such a great place to buy, but in Brownstown you can't find anything for sale. Our kids are looking. so-
and also too in this town, I work right there on the corner, and our firemen and the ambulance and the cops, the police officers, I mean, they all work so hard. I mean, they do.
Yeah.
I see it daily. A lot of people don't, and our town board, I mean, I see what this stuff, and people need to get a little more educated on some of the stuff in town before you start griping about some of the stuff in town. I mean, our fire department over here, I don't know, I guess they go out on every call. They go out on every call now? Because them are some working son of a guns over here. They're in and out of there because they come right by my vent, and they've got the sirens on. But they must have to hit every call because there ain't that many places on fire.
Yeah.
But, the EMTs in town and the city and the county guys. I mean, we got it all here in Brownstown,
Yeah.
I mean, we're fortunate.
And I've said this many times. When we're sitting here and in our this little studio that was put together here for us, we're sitting here looking right out the window at the Jackson County Courthouse.
Yeah,
And
I love that courthouse.
It's a beautiful town square, in my opinion, and
I think it is too.
It's memorable to a lot of people. A lot of people are like, I've been through Brownstown, and then that's immediately they'll talk about the town square coming through. So.
Unless they got to go to that courthouse behind it, and then they don't want it to be real memorable.
Yeah.
But it's nice as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
everything's
Very nice.
nice.
It
Everybody's
is.
got like a dance studio in town.
A little bit of
We've got
everything.
everything.
A little bit of
Everything.
everything.
You can get your taxes done, get you a tattoo, go buy you a refrigerator. I mean,
Yeah.
you can do it all in this town.
And literally know everybody that was in each place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the unique. There's a lot of places you can go get all those things done, but you're not going to walk in and know somebody every time you open the door.
That's true.
So,
One more quick thing, and Tawnya says this a lot, but when we opened Big Daddy's, there was like 6 businesses empty right on Main Street right
Yeah, it was sad.
here. And she always jokingly, but kind of means it, when we opened Blondie's, she's like, it seemed like a lot more stuff open. Maybe
Yeah.
we revived the town. But
yeah.
it was just like, and now you got Ryan down here with the financial side of Edwards Jones. I mean, we've got a variety of everything. And do we have an empty building? Patman's building may not have nothing in it, but they're using it for commissary, whoever the concession people are. But we just don't have any empty buildings. We're thriving.
We are.
Well, thanks again, guys.
Well, thank
thanks
you,
for
Dan.
coming in. I don't know when we'll be able to get this edited and cut out, but
Well, we'll know if you never do that you didn't like us too much.
well, you'll be the first one we get it cut, and I'll send it to you to go out. But
Well, you
We
have a good
appreciate it.
evening.
yeah, hopefully this thing continues, and we'll just get a little better each time. And
Yeah.
I'm getting better at the editing side of it. And
So when you do
I
get a
think
little
you have a
bigger and
long
you start
future.
taking sponsors, can I be the second one?
well, it's like I said.
Who's
I
the first?
I just
Well, I said, as soon as he announced it, Roger West was like, "Hey, no sponsors for that."
well, I just I feel so guilty about that.
Well,
I mean,
sure, I understand that.
Yeah, it's flattering to hear somebody would want to do that, but at the same time, it's like, gosh, that's a little bit of pressure,
Yeah.
on it too. So,
Well, within a year, you'll know.
yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm enjoying this.
It's fun.
It's been fun. I'm enjoying it. We'll see where it goes, and I can't wait to hear all the people come in and tell their story. And
Well, I think
And,
the buzz about it's a little more than you think.
well, I
And you're
hope
trying
so.
to be humble, but it's a little more than you think.
Yeah, it's like I said, I want people to know people even better.
Sure.
I want a lot of people come in Blondies. A lot of people know who you are, know your faces, know your names, maybe know a little bit, but hopefully the thing I want from this is when they sit down and play this, they get to know Mason and Tawnya Fleetwood a little better, and that's really what I'm after. So,
All right,
again,
appreciate it,
Yep,
Dan.
thanks,
Yes,
guys.
thank you
All
so
right,
much.
Thanks for coming.
All right, bye-bye.